Let's keep going with the rookie reviews. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm back from vacation and trying to will my body back to life. So let's talk about Jdub Jalen Williams, the 12th pick in the 2022 overall draft. Nearly won Rookie of the Year from that spot. And he was phenomenal his rookie season, no doubt. Let's break it down and talk about how Jalen Williams was so phenomenal for OKC last year. How good was he actually? Stay till the end, and I will tell you how good I think he can actually become. The first place to start is I think with the most interesting offensive stuff, which is definitely his slashing game. At 6'6", long and strong, Jalen's solid handle and really impressive touch led to some great slashing moments this year, where he's able to, out of a little like pick and slip here, where the defense is trying to figure out what they're doing. They're kind of activating a switch here. Jalen is good enough to change directions, get into the paint with his burst, and use his kind of off-arm deflection to get in there and draw a foul. The slashing chops are really impressive for someone his size, where he's confident using behind the back dribbles and stuff. Simple like one dribble move counters. We see him get Jaylen Brown skirting there before he gets deep paint, restricted area, crazy tough contested finishes. His touch finishing is just phenomenal, even if, as we'll get to, one of the big, long-term weaknesses I see is the lack of ability to create consistent separation on the ball, but the touch finishing and the size certainly goes a long way to, and I think will go a long way to compensating for that. The simple one crossover moves are going to be like the way he makes a lot of his money as a secondary creator, where in those plays like I showed you before, where there was a PNR or a switch or an early offense, he can set up this like middle ball screen before rejecting left, getting to the rim. He ends up smoking that layup, but the important thing to me is the ease at which he's able to create there. And while Jdub isn't the most like electric space creator, the handle for his size is really, really great at true 6'5", 6'6", and that plus his strength makes him really, really tough cover for like smaller guards, where he's so good at using his strength and his handle and his size to get defenders all the way down. Beautiful spin counter move as Kobe White here kind of tries to cut him off hard going middle, able to spin back, keep his dribble, and fire this in at a super weird, awkward angle. We can see how ridiculously good the finishing is in basically all of these clips, where he's so good at hitting these tough touch shots from basically anywhere on the court. J-Dub's touch on these little floaters are really impressive too, as he's one of the league's most fun and exciting like retro scorers in the way he uses touch and footwork and pace to get buckets. This is very like Iceman George Gervin kind of vibe, where J-Dub like picks up the ball really high with these long strides, and he's also one of I think my favorite practitioners of the hook shot in the league right now, where he uses his length to kind of sky the ball over defenders, his fantastic touch to get around the outstretched Walker Kessler and finish really strong there. Some of the finishing craft, the size, the strength, all of it is really impressive creation chops for a rookie. Obviously, Jalen is a little older for rookie, which I think definitely helps, but really impressive nonetheless. As I talked about before, I think the perimeter dribble to post skill is really important. Here's him switched on to an actual big in Wenyen Gabriel, who he can't shake initially, but J-Dub has great flexibility. He's able to get himself good position with his spin move, use his footwork and his touch to spin back and score with the post with like the little post hook. As we saw, the post hooks on the drive, the post hooks on the drive to post, all of it is really impressive stuff. I do think, as with many young players, J-Dub picks up the ball too early on most of his drives, where he's picking up the ball here, or beginning his pickup before he even enters like the paint here. If J-Dub takes one more dribble and picks up right here, he could draw Jokic further in, maybe find a laydown pass or get into the paint, but J-Dub relies very heavily on his touch in these situations, where this is an awkward, leaning, off-foot floater, and the shot clock is running down here, no doubt. But again, I think there was absolutely time to take one more dribble and find a play there and not have to rely so heavily on making a really awkward, tough angled touch shot, which obviously he can do. Jalen's other big, I think, limiting factor as a creator and a finisher is his lack of vertical leaping in traffic, where I don't know if it's a reliance on touch or an inability to leap in traffic, where you see in these plays where he's sprinting downhill and there's defenders in traffic, he really struggles to get a lot of lift. Jalen Williams doesn't get very far off the ground, and he relies on timing finishes to get shots up, and it gets packed there by Steven Adams. And the issue with timing-based finishes is that they can always be beaten with good timing from the defender, basically, where like the off-foot, offhand finish is really impressive, but Steven Adams is ready for it and is able to spike that ball away. Jdub, in this way, I think, is going to have like very specific kind of ways in that he works as a creator, where plays like this where he's not able to burn past his defender, he doesn't get much lift, and there really isn't much there. He's relying on a very difficult touch shot here, which, again, a shot that he can make, but not a shot that I think you want to be relying on, especially long-term as a creator. In these ISO situations, there are sometimes struggles where, as we saw before, he's so good attacking in early offense scenarios, like secondary creator stuff, attacking off the catch, getting a slip, using his quick change of direction to score there. But when it's more ISO situation, we saw with Wenyan Gabriel, he turned it into a post-up, or him switched on to Jackson Hayes here. The lack of great flexibility, shifts, and the over-reliance on touch shots definitely is a bit of a struggle. And I think this is definitely one of the limiters of his offensive ceiling. As on the ball, I do have questions about how good Jdub can get as a self-creator, as someone who can get his own shots and score efficiently from all over the floor, especially against these like sturdy, really strong lateral, like high-level point of attack defenders like Derek White, who he can't overpower with strength or footwork. There was a struggle. Obviously, again, he was a rookie, and this stuff definitely happens, and where he was impressive as a rookie. But I do think these reps are important, as Jdub's already quite strong, and I think just getting like insanely strong is one of the pathways to like high-level creation for him, where he can just bully through players, because there are going to be real struggles in terms of burst and in terms of flexibility and handle at the highest level getting around defenders. I do think one of the ways that Jdub can mitigate this is as a pull-up mid-range shooter, where we saw a good amount of this. Jdub's height and incredible touch, as we discussed before, is going to be a really important counter for him to get shots over defenders when he isn't necessarily able to beat them off the dribble, as we see there. This is going to come in handy as well as an off-ball player. We're going to talk about the shot in a second. Jdub's shot is improving, but again, he's not at the point where he's drawing hard closeouts here. Maxi Kleba is sagging off pretty hard, but he's really comfortable dribbling into the mid-range, smooth two-dribble pull-up, and that same kind of principle it enacts when he's running pick and rolls, where even if defenses aren't really super glued to his jumper, he can walk into pull-up mid-ranges like it's basically nothing. And I think one of the most interesting things about Jdub and his potential improvement is that the mid-range shooting was kind of one of the big selling points coming out of college, where he shot a ton of long twos, very low assisted. Same with a decent amount of unassisted threes as well. And if we look at the splits this year, he shot quite a few pull-ups. This is really impressive for a rookie. 88 pull-up jumpers at 42% is really, really solid. And the spacing wasn't incredible here, as we see Jalen only shot, I believe, 2.7 threes per game, but by the monthly splits, we see the shot stabilizing as he grows, where the first 3-4 months it wasn't very good, and then he was excellent the last couple months of the season. So I think that positive trajectory is a good sign for future growth, as he is already a decent catch and shoot guy. Again, Jdub can fire when he has time and when defenses aren't closing out, and given the fact that defenses aren't closing out very hard to him right now, he's pretty good at these, where a lot of his shots are just wide open. And I think the maximizer of Jdub's ceiling would definitely be him hitting these pull-up threes at even somewhat of a consistent clip, where a lot of players with this general profile, tall, elite college mid-range shooters who shot a decent amount of threes, they were able to turn their game into more three-point focused scoring in the future, as we see with plenty of guys on this list, Jdub included. And in college, there were flashes of this off-dribble three-point shooting. Definitely more than we saw in his first season as an OKC Thunder. Obviously, the role was different, but Jdub was really comfortable attacking and hitting threes off of step backs, pulling up in transition very comfortably. He was a pretty confident and active shooter off the catch. Even when closeouts were drawn, Jdub was confident shooting, and even some light off movement stuff. So I think the shooting profile as a prospect was even more impressive than Jdub let on as a rookie, and that combined with his positive end of the season gives me hope for his shooting. Obviously, that combines with his awesome slashing that he put on tape, which has translated beautifully. I think myself and a lot of people didn't expect this to translate as seamlessly as it did, but a true dribble pass shoot 6'6" guy has made things work. And the shot is one of the ways I think Jdub can and is becoming the ultimate scalable weapon, an offensive player that is so good playing next to other ball-dominant stars. And I think his pairings with Josh Giddey and Shea are perfect. He's such an incredible cutter, and he has the best, aside from Jokic, probably the best passer to cutters in the league, and Josh Giddey, so good at finding him. Watch him set this cut up right here. Look at that nasty double move, shaking Josh Hart and getting to draw 2 free throws there. He's so good at timing his cuts as well, slipping behind Spencer Dinwiddie when he falls asleep. And this is going to lead to easy buckets all day for Jdub as the Thunder continue to accrue more offensive threats. When Shea's on the floor, when Giddey's on the floor. Having someone like Jdub who can run your secondary pick and roll and be a playmaker as well when Shea and Giddey aren't on the floor is really important too. His passing is really, really good for his size. I love him using his strength to get downhill, keep his dribble, and find a laydown passes. Those downhill laydown passes are definitely his best kind of pass, where Jdub can use his just general awareness instinct to either get downhill or use his manipulation to find cutters. He's always been an awesome passer to cutters, which, again, so synergistic with his own high-level cutting playstyle. He's so good at getting into the lane and finding these tight window delivery passes where Jdub sees Kenrich cutting and he sneaks this in through multiple outstretched arms to get Kenrich a wide open layup. This is really advanced, impressive stuff for any rookie, let alone one who's 6'5", 6'6", with legit strength, slashing skills, defense. And he's pretty capable at this point of running secondary pick and rolls. Again, not a primary initiator by any means at this point, or probably at any point in the future, but these secondary dribble handoff actions where Jdub only has one read to make. It's go to the paint or hit this roller, and he's comfortable making these passes at a pretty high level already, which, again, as a rookie is wildly impressive. I think the offensive ceiling, as we've been saying, is a bit limited by the, how good can the pull-up shooting get? How much separation is he going to be able to drive on ball? How good of a finisher is he going to be able to stabilize at given the lack of vertical leaping? But as a secondary guy, he's amazing. And that only becomes more enticing when you consider his defense, which I would say was already positive as a rookie, which is rare. We had one of those with Walker Kessler, undoubtedly, and I think Jdub was another positive rookie defender. Rarely do you see defenders with his level of off-ball instinct as a rookie, as Jdub is so good hunting passing lanes on the weak side. He's always active and swiveling and looking for opportunities to jump lazy passes and to generate turnovers for his team. His length, his awareness, his instincts are all really special for someone of that age. Here we have Jdub zoning off the weak side by himself. There's 2 defenders here. There's 2 offensive players. He's at a numbers disadvantage here. There's 2 offensive players on the weak side who are both his responsibility. Jdub sniffs out this cut by Trey Murphy immediately, and Jackson Hayes does not sniff out Jdub's presence, and he's able to sink down for an easy positioning-based steal. Again, not the most incredible, ground coverage guy in terms of athleticism or speed, but his instincts are really excellent in terms of covering space and knowing where to be. Again, this is a shot that goes in, but Jdub's tendencies are to be an early low man, and this isn't always the right play, where there are other defenders here, and Dame, could have passed out to Trendon Watford. But I think Jdub's tendency to be early is a lot better than the inverse is, than a guy who isn't making rotations, who isn't an aware defender, who isn't trying to make plays. And that's what Jdub is doing. Even in like scramble situations after an offensive rebound like this, where again, we have kind of a 2v2 here. Josh Giddey gets B, Aaron Wiggins steps up, and Jdub has a 2v1 on the weak side. We see the exact same thing. Jdub digs down hard on Kuminga and gets a steal there because he's in great position there. His rim protection isn't as advanced as his steals-based playmaking. He's pretty solid standing at the rim and using his length and his timing to get blocks. But I do think there are some limitations as a rim protector for sure. Jalen Williams isn't the most, which I guess we'll get into later. I thought I had clips there. His activity digging at the nail and digging and getting steals on offensive players who are sleeping is really impressive too. He has excellent hands. His length and hand placement and just the quickness of him digging for balls and getting steals is really impressive, especially when players will spin in front of him. Jdub's so good at getting in front of that and taking the ball away from players who aren't the best handlers or don't really have a way you can test that. Jdub is a bit reach and foul happy at this point, but that's not a weakness I'm so worried about given his status as a rookie, especially against quicker guards, who is one of the positions that he struggles against most because of his lack of hip mobility. He's not that great at getting low and turning his hips to slide and chase. He often settles for reaches, which leads to fouls or guards getting into the paint. And his timing isn't perfect on digs or off-ball gambles as well, where he's definitely not a gambler, but in a lot of these plays where I think Jdub has the right idea to dig down to muck up this pass and get back to contest the shooter, oftentimes he's just mistiming his swipe and going for a foul instead of actually playing, which, again, isn't a huge issue. I think this is more of a problem where even when his instincts are really impressive and he's able to be in position, the lack of really impressive vertical leaping or speed to cover ground means that even if Jdub gets in great position, athletic, tough finishers are going to be able to finish over him and to get around him and to make plays at the rim, even if he's there and in good position. And obviously a play like this is an extreme example. But I think we do definitely see here Jdub's inability to get off the ground quickly. Look how fast Jaden McDaniels is getting off the ground. And Jdub really, as a pretty strong and long dude, doesn't have much of a chance there. As like a 6'5", 6'6" guy, adding value as a rim protector is generally pretty important. And I definitely think Jdub can be solid in that role. But I don't think it's going to be a huge strength of his. As well as I think these kind of perimeter rotations are a bit slow right now. He's really great at zoning the weak side and making interior rotations, as we saw, those outside-inside rotations. But the outside-outside rotations where Jdub has to quickly read, an extra pass, he's able to use his length to contest here, but I do think a better shooter probably would have canned that just because Jdub was a little slow on that rotation. Again, nothing crazy, concerning, but just little things that, especially for a rookie, that stand out, where we see some good and some bad from Jdub here. He's really, really early rotating on this empty side pick and roll, which is awesome. He does not allow CJ McCollum an outlet to lob to Jackson Hayes. He's disciplined here sitting down. But when Herb Jones cuts middle, he unnecessarily peels off of his man and gives up a wide open dunk when Herb's able to slip it to Jackson Hayes. So it's these second side off ball actions that are giving Jdub trouble at this point, which is not uncommon for rookies at all, but definitely something to notice. His screen navigation will probably always be a little limited based on his stockier stature and his lack of flexibility, but he's pretty okay attaching to fast players sprinting around screens. For a 6'5", 6'6" rookie, he definitely has trouble rounding screens at times, but his energy and his effort getting into these plays, along with his strength to kind of blow through screens, I think will allow him to be pretty okay here. We see him take a kind of wide angle here, which ends up getting him beat. Jdub isn't able to rely on his strength to blow through, and when he has to change directions here to make a U-turn as a screen defender, this is where he can get into trouble, where Jdub's ability to change directions defensively isn't that great. So I think his time guarding these two combo guards who love to go off screens all the time might be a little worrisome. I think where Jdub is really going to thrive is as a point of attack defender against bigger ball handlers, anywhere from like 6'5" to 6'8", where his awesome lateral quickness and strength and use of length and hands is going to be awesome. Look at him walling off Aaron Gordon here as a rookie, one of the best players on the a title-winning team. He's able to open up his hips, use his lower body. We see him bump Aaron Gordon and maintain his balance before heading into that block. It's really, really impressive stuff for a rookie to be able to handle. Even against some quicker players, we see Jalen's hands showing out here. Clarkson ends up scoring, but Jdub's able to deflect this, to cookies this ball out. It's, and unfortunately bounces right back to Clarkson, but we see the length coming into play at the point of attack. And again, these reaches and gambles can be problematic, and Jdub lacks the high-end length and hip mobility to contest plays like this. But I think the hands and the length are going to be really impressive tools, especially against, ideally at the highest level when he can guard players like Devin Booker. This time we see him blow through a screen with his strength. He's able to stay attached, get through DeAndre Ayton, and wall up. And when he doesn't have to change directions, when he can use his lateral quickness and defending with his hips and his chest and his length to bother shooters, he's going to be really, really effective, and he's going to thrive in those roles. He's not perfect, again, against these kind of players, especially when they can just win with straight quickness. Jdub's hips open up a little slowly. That flexibility is a problem, as we've noted, where defenders with really good burst can turn him open pretty easily and get in front. Shea with the ridiculous block obviously is going to be nice to help cover for these kind of plays, and especially against smaller guards who can change directions really well. There's going to be some troubles for Jdub, especially where we saw the play with De'Aaron Fox earlier where he had to reach, and when he doesn't reach, oftentimes Jalen just doesn't have the foot speed, the hip mobility to open up, to locate the offensive player and to stay in front, which again I think is going to limit his ceiling somewhat as an on-ball defender. Limit his versatility a little bit. But the little things, again, we see Jalen bite on this kind of interior pass fake by Terrence Ross. This is a great play by Terrence Ross, the little manipulation to get him in the corner. I think there are some really impressive defensive tools. The off-ball defense already, the ability to be a playmaker, to make great backline rotations, and to be a valuable point of attack defender against bigger players already is really impressive. Overall, I think the ceiling for Jalen Williams is quite high. I don't think he can ever be like a legit primary creator, or like an all-league level, or an all-league first-team level defender, because of his limitations as a separator, potentially as a shooter, and his limitations guarding down and guarding at the rim as an off-ball defender. But I think he, again, as I mentioned earlier, for this Thunder team, can be the ultimate scalable weapon. A player who can take the on-ball reins as a bench creator, secondary pick and rolls, using his really good handle for size, touch finishing, general craft, passing game, pull-up mid-range scoring, to work off of the gravity of guys like Shea or Giddey or whatever on-ball stars he ends up playing with in his career if the Thunder like to make a trade or if they end up trading him, while adding positive value defensively basically throughout his whole career. I think Jdub's probably already like a top 60, 65 player in the league, and it wouldn't shock me to see him make an all-star team next season. I think in the future, Jdub is going to be one of those players who hovers around like, low fringe All-NBA All-Star level value at its peak. And he's going to be a guy who is a huge component for, I think, high-level winning teams, even if he isn't the ultimate star. And for that, as a 12th overall pick, I think is really incredible. The shot is going to be a big determiner. How consistent can he be? How many closeouts can he draw? And can he expand the pull-up out to three? And if he can expand the pull-up out to three, I do think there's a world where Jalen Williams as a creator can be much more of a star on ball. And then, then the sky's the limit for him. But let me know what you think. Let me know who you want next, what you think of Jdub, and what you think of him going forward.